It's good to, keep things in perspective. You may believe that your life is difficult, but you should realize that there are people out there who face struggles and obstacles, hardships and persecution far beyond what you have ever known or will ever experience. You've been through your own trials, perhaps, but at least your life hasn't been as hard on you as it has been on Michelle Obama. The former First Lady who graduated from 2 Ivy League schools, became First Lady by the age of 45, is now worth a combined $135 million along with her husband, has always been eager to talk about the many ways in which this country has oppressed her. She returned to that theme in a recent interview with CBS, telling the outlet that she, quote, lives in fear, and is afraid of getting randomly gunned down by the cops while shopping for groceries or walking her dog. Apparently, the fact that she gets Secret Service protection everywhere she goes is not enough to make her feel secure. She considers it plausible that a racist cop might run up and execute a former First Lady on the spot for no reason. Obama is also concerned that her daughters will get racially profiled while driving. She lies awake at night, tossing and turning, fearing that some police officer with a professional death wish will harass the famous daughters of a United States president. These are all very real fears that she has. And don't ever doubt these fears. Don't doubt them. Here she is describing them.
Many of us still live in fear as we go to the grocery store or worry about walking our dogs or allowing our children to get a license. I mean, just imagine.
Aren't your girls driving?
They're driving. Yeah. But every time they get in a car by themselves, I worry about what assumption is being made by somebody who doesn't know everything about them. The fact that they are good students and polite girls, but maybe they're playing their music a little loud. Maybe somebody sees the back of their head and makes an assumption. I, like so many parents of black kids, have to, that the innocent act of getting a license puts fear in our hearts. So I think we have to talk about it more, and we have to ask our fellow citizens to listen a bit more and to believe us.
Yeah, just to be clear, again, when she talks about being afraid of walking down the street or walking her dog or going to the grocery store, that is what she's saying. She's saying she's afraid that a cop will shoot her. That's the claim being made by Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama is afraid that a cop will shoot her, she says. And why won't someone listen to her, she asks. They just need to listen to us. Yes, why won't someone listen to Michelle Obama? Michelle Obama is tired of being ignored. She wrote a book that sold 10 million copies in 5 months. Clearly, nobody cares what she has to say. Nobody is listening to her. It's just as clear that only black parents have to worry about their kids behind the wheel. White parents have no such concern. When I was 17 and I got my license and I went out on the roads, my parents were sleeping easy. It was no problem. Weren't worried at all. We white parents simply cannot conceive of living a life as difficult as that of a beloved multimillionaire celebrity who charges $200,000 to give a 45-minute speech. We can't wrap our heads around it. If you're not yet convinced that Michelle Obama is a victim and that her bitterness towards this country is warranted, I need only remind you of a segment from her podcast a few months ago where she talked about the racism she experienced even while in the White House. What you're about to hear is very difficult to listen to. It'll send chills down your spine. But it is your responsibility to confront this because this is what is happening to Michelle Obama. You're not going to believe this. Listen.
So I'm standing there with 2 little black girls, another black female adult. They're in soccer uniforms, and a white woman cuts right in front of us to order, like she didn't even see us. And the girl behind the counter almost took her order. And I said, "Excuse me?" I said, "You don't see us 4 people standing right here? You just jumped in line?" She didn't apologize. She never looked me in my eye. She didn't know it was me. All she saw was a black person or a group of black people, or maybe she didn't even see that. What white folks don't understand, it's like that is so telling of how white America views people who are not like them. We don't exist.
She doesn't exist. Someone notice Michelle Obama. She's not being noticed. You heard that right. Michelle Obama, years later, specifically remembers one time when someone cut in front of her in line and is still complaining about it. Who can blame her? I mean, obviously this was racism. There could be no other explanation. Someone cut in front of her in line, and she, by the way, remember before she was talking about don't make assumptions about people, she assumed that this person is racist. That's the assumption she made. But she can make that assumption because it's not as though all humans on the face of this planet have had similar experiences. It's not as though line cutters are globally reviled precisely because we've all encountered this many times. No, this is Michelle Obama's cross to carry. Just think about this. Michelle Obama was delayed in getting ice cream for upwards of 15 seconds. 15 seconds, imagine. She could have starved. Her children could have starved, all because they're black. Now, lest you think that Michelle Obama is the only fabulously wealthy, famous, and beloved black celebrity to be persecuted by this country, I must also remind you of LeBron James. LeBron, net worth $500 million, who's been a millionaire athlete since the age of 18 and was nationally acclaimed even before that. It would be accurate to say that LeBron has been a celebrated and nationally recognized athlete for the vast majority of his life, almost his entire life, going back into childhood. But even so, LeBron has suffered the sort of maltreatment that the average white man cannot comprehend. The NBA star has, like Michelle, often claimed to be too afraid to walk down the street. Despite being surrounded by armed security, living in a multi-million-dollar mansion in a posh Los Angeles suburb, LeBron is worried that some crazed racist cop will run up and shoot him dead. Such a thing has literally never happened. Nothing like that has ever happened, but he's worried that it will, and his fear should be validated. In fairness, LeBron has experienced hate crimes in the past. Who can forget the time when LeBron claimed that someone spray painted the N-word somewhere on his property? Now, in fact, I say who can forget? Everyone has forgotten. But he did actually claim this. And he spoke out against the hate crime courageously, was applauded by the media. Now, the funny thing is that the cops showed up to investigate, and they never found any racist graffiti. It had been painted over already. Nothing strange about that. Calling the cops to investigate graffiti, but painting over it before they arrive? Who could question that? The media certainly didn't question it. And what about Oprah Winfrey, net worth $2.7 billion? She, especially in recent years, has taken to denouncing white privilege as well. Now, sure, she has more wealth and power than the average white person could hope to accrue in 10,000 lifetimes, but the average white person still has something that Oprah Winfrey doesn't. Whiteness. What is whiteness worth? What can you cash it in for? Well, that isn't explained exactly, but the point is that if you're a white man living in a 900 square foot modular home and feeding your children canned tuna for dinner tonight, you are more privileged than Oprah Winfrey, as she explains here.
There are white people who are not as powerful as the system of white people, the caste system that's been put in place, but they still, no matter where they are on the rung or the ladder of success, they still have their whiteness.
They still have their whiteness. So that's what you say to the guy feeding the kids tuna in the modular home. You have your whiteness. You got that at least. Can't afford medical bills, but you have your whiteness. Cash that in. Cash that in at the cosmic prize counter. Maybe it'll be good for a couple Jolly Ranchers and a Chinese finger trap. Imagine being Oprah. I mean, it must be so hard. That's why Oprah was the perfect person to speak to and commiserate with Meghan Markle, who's sort of black but fully persecuted. A Hollywood actress turned royalty, turned media mogul. And it's unclear why she was deserving of any of those titles at all, being that she has no talent to speak of whatsoever. But surely she has known troubles and tribulations that a white mother waitressing at a Denny's never has or never will. Likewise, for Sean P. Diddy Combs, who penned an open letter to corporate America a few weeks ago, blasting the corporate world for discriminating against people like himself. Now, Sean Combs is worth $900 million, despite the fact that he's never produced anything of value in his entire life. He's been a millionaire since his early 20s. That's also when he killed Tupac, allegedly. But none of that can erase the pain caused by the unspecified corporate villains who have caused him unspecified harm. Who knows? Maybe he could be worth $1 billion already if not for that discrimination. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine not being a billionaire? That's the sort of reality that Sean Combs has to face every day, at least for a few more years until he actually is a billionaire. All of this raises the question, when will America finally become the sort of country where black people can succeed? Or at least, succeed more. Succeed more than being millionaires and billionaires and some of the most famous and powerful people in the country. That's the question. In closing, I want to give you a statistic that will shock you to your core. And you're not going to believe this, but it's true. Did you know that there are today no black trillionaires? None. Not one. Not even Oprah. Still think white privilege is a myth? Well, clearly, you're wrong. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.